Hello everyone, this is Sunny, and I'm coming to you with You'll Learn to Love Me, a Yandere Masky X-Reader by FluffyWubs. We're going to be starting off with Chapter 29. So far, so good. I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready. My weapon is in my hands, and I'm at the entrance of the forest. I'm sure he would still be around, he has to. Upon entering the forest, it starts replaying in my head again, the screams, the pleading, the merciless killing. It's a haunting memory I'll never get rid of. And with my gun clenched tightly in my grip and my narrowed eyes scanning through the trees, I'm ready to brace anything. Inhaling deeply, I keep my head up and keep walking. I'm more alert than ever, listening closely for any type of sound, footsteps, talking, anything. For the next 3 minutes of walking, I don't hear anything besides the soft howling of the wind and the crunch of the leaves beneath my feet. It's hard to see anything in the distance due to it being so dark. Spotting him from far away won't be possible like this. And while walking past some trees and bushes, I finally hear something that resembles some kind of grumble. My heart starts to accelerate as I hold the gun close to my chest, following the sound of the grumbles. With every soft mutter of a voice, a dragging noise can be heard, as if something heavy was being dragged across the ground. I finally manage to find the source of where the voice is coming from and hide behind a large trunk of a tree. I peek around it only to see my target. One of his hands is clutched around his shoulder, presumably the one he was shot in, and in the meanwhile, his other hand was hanging onto a smaller hand. I almost gag at the sight, and he's dragging Emma's headless body across the forest with no remorse. Her body was leaving a trail of blood behind which would be easy to follow. I feel tears brimming in my eyes as I take a deep breath. Just point and shoot. I hold the pistol in front of me, aiming directly against the bastard's head. As he dragged the body, my arm slowly moved along with him to keep his head on the shot. My finger was twitching in anticipation of pulling the trigger, and once he's clear in my line of shot, I finally pull the trigger. The gun shoots out the bullet with so much force it almost flies out of my hands. I shut my eyes for a quick second, expecting to hear a thump of someone falling to the ground, and I hear nothing else besides shuffling. I open my eyes. My breath suddenly hitches in my throat once I realize that the bastard is still intact and in one piece. A bullet hole was embedded in one of the tree trunks behind him, and I missed. I can't believe I missed. I didn't even inflict a scratch on him. His gaze suddenly meets mine, making me freeze in my spot. My body tenses up as that last spark of confidence I had flickered out as quick as a flame. My hand starts shaking as I pull back the slide to reload and try to take another shot, and before I'm able to even point a gun at him, I see the blade of a hatchet flying towards my face. I let out a startled cry as I duck for cover behind the tree trunk I hid behind before. So the little mouse is here by herself, what a surprise. His sentence was occasionally interrupted by a stutter due to his body spasms. My hands were trembling at this point, tears were blurring my vision because of the sheer panic and fear, and I don't know if I dare to look around the tree again. Say, want to know what I'm gonna do with her body? He suddenly questions out of the blue. Why in the world would he say that out of nowhere? I keep quiet as I furrow my brows in confusion, and Toby continues. I'm going to give it a good pal of mine, he states. I can hear a tint of amusement and mischief in his voice. And you know what he's going to do with it? He asks. He pauses for a few seconds as if expecting me to answer, and I don't, obviously. Toby lets out a chortle before adding, he's going to fuck it senseless, which, well, she already is. He finishes with a chuckle. I feel like throwing up. How can someone be so utterly disgusting? My entire body is trembling for either the cold, fear, or anger, and I can't tell. And my friend just loves bitches who don't struggle or scream. I hear his last word come out as a grunt as I heard his boot collide with something. He probably kicked the body. He's not a murderer. He's a complete monster. This whore of a body is the perfect pick for him. She'd fulfill her destiny soon. Toby chortles. I feel streaks of tears rushing down my cheeks. I'm not letting him get away. I get up from my spot and appear from the tree again. He's lost one hatchet. If I can only make him lose another one. I point the gun a little lower this time, somewhere around his legs, and I pull the trigger again. I can see the bullet embed itself into the soil instead of Toby's flesh, like I expected it to. Toby looks down at the bullet hole in the ground that's near his feet and shakes his head with a short laugh. Didn't Mommy tell you not to play with dangerous toys? He seems unfazed. I get closer to him past the line of bushes and point my gun straight at him. He doesn't flinch nor move from his spot, and his arms are dangling freely by his side. He could still grab his one hatchet if he wanted to, then why is he not doing so? I narrow my eyes at him as I choke back a sob from seeing the body on the ground from the corner of my eye. My arms tremble, but my finger is steadily placed on the trigger. Toby cocks his head to the side, his chestnut hair following the movement. Shoot, come on, doll, don't I want you to? The corners of his mouth guard arch up, meaning he was most likely smiling or grinning. He's taunting me. He's testing me. Blinded by my own anger, I just pull the trigger. 1 bullet, 2, 3. My hands are shaking so much I can't even properly aim. Toby simply stands there, shot after shot. It's like this is a game to him. I pull the trigger once more and I hold my breath, and I suddenly hear something solid hit the ground, making me focus on what just happened. Toby's leg gave up on him and he finally fell to the ground. No painful scream or whimper came from him. Toby looks at his leg before looking back at me. His pants were quickly soaking up all his blood. Well, you got me. He speaks in a monotone voice as if this was nothing. Why don't you just come over here and finish the job? He scoffs. I will. My voice falters for a couple of seconds before I bite my bottom lip. I approach the sitting male, pointing the barrel of the gun at his head. I can do it. I just need to press the trigger. Finish the job like he said. My hands tremble as I swallow thickly. Toby looks up at me with his orange-tinted goggles and grins beneath his mouth guard. You humans are so pathetic. You have this feeling called remorse. You wouldn't be able to kill another one of your kind no matter what they are, huh? He chuckles. He's trying to make me back down. I hold the gun steadily against his forehead, pressing the barrel harder against his. You are not human, I spat. Toby simply snickers. Pull the trigger, skank. He edges me further. I will. I shut my eyes and I do as he says. I pull the trigger back only to hear a click. What? I quickly pull the gun back and realized I had wasted my first 6 shots. I still have 6 more bullets in my pocket. So fucking stupid. I feel something hit the side of my kneecap, making me tumble to the ground, and my gun is still securely gripped in my hands as I scramble to get at least 1 bullet out of my pocket. I see Toby shuffle up with difficulty, managing to balance himself on one leg while the other was practically limply supporting him. I suck in a breath as I try to get up from the ground, only to have Toby stomp a boot onto my back. I let out a whine mixed with a pained whimper as I struggle to get the magazine out. I have only 1 bullet in my hand. I just need to get the gun loaded. Well, you tried your best. I hear Toby chuckle as he crushes my back with his boot. I wince, holding back any type of scream or whimper. I know damn well he would like to hear me scream in pain, and I'm not giving him the satisfaction of it. I guess it wasn't enough, he adds. Just as I get the magazine out, I feel a harsh blow against the back of my legs, and for a few seconds I don't feel anything. All I feel is a liquid running down the calves of my leg, and I glance over my shoulder and suddenly feeling an intense wave of pain flood over me. The dull blade of his hatchet is deeply stuck in the flesh of my leg. I slam a hand over my mouth, and as tears of pure agony stream down my face. The bile in my stomach was already rising up to my throat, and Toby cackled, forcefully ripping his blade from my leg. Scream, bitch, let me hear them, he exclaims. I can practically see his shadow over me raise the hatchet over his head again. Don't tell me he's going to decapitate my leg from my body. With shaking hands, I finally manage to put the bullet into the magazine. I choke back a sob as I load the magazine into the gun. As I finally get the magazine inside, I feel the blade digging into the flesh of my other leg. I can't help but let a scream surpass my lips this time. The pain is indescribable. Beg for your life, I want you to fucking beg. His voice is filled with pure insanity, something that frightened me the most. One of my hands is clutching the gun tightly in its grip, while the other one is curled into a tight fist to try and subdue the pain. I'm not going to beg. I told myself I wasn't going to be weak. I meekly used my forearms to try and push the upper part of my body up, only to lose all strength and fall back down. I could hear him laugh bitterly at my pitiful attempts of trying to fight against him. I feel the weight of his boot finally get off of my back, allowing me to flip around and actually meet his face, and with every movement, it felt as if my legs were slowly detaching themselves from my body. Toby was looking down at me, a wide grin spread across his features. I would love to spend more time with you, but I have to go. Toby spoke the last bit of his sentence in a mockingly sad tone. Well, it was fun while it lasted. He shrugged a shoulder before lifting his hatchet over his head to finally end it once and for all. My breath gets stuck in my throat, and as he lets out a chuckle, I'll meet you in hell, he beams. I was ready to face death. I was ready to get struck and just end it all in one quick movement, but I knew I couldn't die, not because of this bastard. I was slowly getting more lightheaded each second that passed, and I can't just pass out from the shock. I quickly lift up my hand that's holding the gun and point it in front of me, blindly pulling the trigger. I hold my breath in anticipation as I see a single hatchet drop right between my legs, planting its own blade in the soil. I slightly tilt my head up, only to find Toby clutching his abdomen. His head is hanging low as his arms try to subdue the bleeding coming from his stomach. I did it. It's finally done. My hands tremble as I release the breath I was holding. I can hear Toby drop to the ground at last. He has been shot 3 times and he's losing blood quicker than I am. I smile, allowing myself to fall into the dirt. I can't move. I can't go anywhere, but I can finally rest in peace knowing that if I'm dying, I'm taking this monster with me. I let out peaceful breaths as I stare up at the starry night. Most of the stars are blocked by the trees, but I can still see a few of them peeking through the leaves. One of the stars is shining brightly, being the biggest and prettiest of them all. I narrow my eyes, noticing that the particular shining star is getting brighter and even brighter. It's getting so bright it's almost blinding. I slowly close my eyes to protect them from the bright light. I'll be at peace soon. That is the end of that chapter. The chapter after that one is chapter 30. Let me know how you guys feel about that, and I will see you guys in the next episode. And until next time, bye bye.